I have chosen the priest's daughter as the anchor for this confession. I am 38, the daughter of our small-town priest, and I have learned to fold my own yearnings into church bells and family dinners, to smile when the room feels heavy with memory and mean nothing to the world outside. My days run in quiet circles. I help in the parish office. I mend old habits with kinder words. I listen to the hum of a small town that believes in second chances even when the heart refuses to forgive itself. I carry a grief that still fits in the hollow of my chest, a loss I would not name aloud because names make pain real, and I have learned to live with it as if it were a trellis on which I grow. The man who changed everything is not a stranger, but the most familiar kind of man in a church hall. A quiet, earnest church member who helps with the soup kitchen, who always has a spare set of hands for any job, who scans the room with a soft, calculating kindness. He is the priest's favorite guest speaker, the one who greets every widow and every single mother with a nod that feels like a blessing. He is older than me by a decade, a man who wears restraint like a badge, who speaks in measures calm, careful, almost reverent in his way of looking at the world. When I first saw him, the air between us held a tremor we both pretended not to notice, and I told myself it was kindness, nothing more. I was careful to keep the line between us clear, even when the scent of rain and soap kept rising from the church hall, even when the memory of long evenings alone tinted the window glass with a soft ache. The inciting moment arrived on a Tuesday, when the air outside the hall smelled of wet asphalt and green growth, and a conversation slipped from his lips about a sermon on mercy that sounded like a confession whispered too late. We walked to the back stairwell to retrieve a stack of books the Sunday crowd had left behind, and in the quiet between us, I heard his breath catch for a breath I did not give him. He spoke of restraint, yes, but his eyes spoke of something else, something that did not belong to the careful lines of a sermon or to the habit of serving others. The betrayal I felt was not a jest played by another lover in some other life. It was the slow, honest ache of recognizing that my heart had wandered into a private chapel where no one would come to bless us. Then came the moment when the parish council met, and the subject of his transfer was announced in the same breath as a prayer for guidance. He would be leaving town in a matter of weeks, a move that could be framed as duty or as distance, but which felt like a betrayal to me because it took with it the possibility of a future I had never dared to name. I did not run to the door to stop him. Instead, I stood under the soft glow of the hallway light, listening to the way his boots sounded on the floor, the way his voice softened when he spoke of a new assignment that would bring him closer to a city where more people needed a man who could listen without judgment. My heart, which had learned to beat in the cadence of prayer, beat faster with every word he spoke, as if mercy could be earned by listening more closely. Even to the parts of myself I had sworn to bury, the knowledge that I could not have this thing, this forbidden tenderness that bloomed in a garden I was forbidden to tend, should have been a wound more than enough to pull me apart. Yet in that moment, something else woke up inside me, a stubborn ember of hope that refused to cool, a sense that perhaps the love that was not supposed to exist could still find a way to live. The days after that moment were a slow, aching river. I walked with him in the churchyard after the crowds dispersed, the names of saints and small stones listening to our breaths. He did not tempt me with promises. He offered the simplest, most human thing, his attention, unadorned, honest, and present, when even a silent room felt heavy with unspoken longing. And I, who had spent years preparing to keep faith with everyone else, found myself learning how to keep faith with my own heart. We did not kiss in the shadows behind the organ. We did not cross lines that would ruin him or me or the fragile structure of the town we loved. Instead, we spoke in whispers about mercy and fear, about the way a second chance can arrive not with fireworks, but with the quiet certainty that life can still be tender. And then the betrayal, a double-edged blade that cut because it came wrapped in truth. A council member, a woman whose husband had left for another town, saw us near the storage room, and the whisper network did its delicate work, spinning rumors before truth could be spoken aloud. The word spread that I was chasing something forbidden, that I walked too close to the man who held the keys to the church and to my own heart. I could have denied it, could have turned away from the man, or turned to him in anger. But instead, I chose another path. I chose to tell him the truth of what I feared, to tell him that the town might burn this letter of mercy if it learns to read between our lines. He listened with a gravity that made my breath falter, and in his eyes was a plea not to abandon the future we could still build, a hope that perhaps the town could learn to forgive the uncertain beginnings of something fragile and real. If this confession has you holding on the edge of your seat, hit like and share because you will not believe what happens next. The next moment arrives not with a declaration in a sunlit room, but with a quiet decision to let time decide what our hearts cannot, to remain bound by duty while choosing love in the margins, to allow a second chance to grow where the soil is poor and the weather unpredictable. I begin to see how a life with him could be built on careful, daily acts of care rather than grand, dangerous leaps. He teaches me to measure the risk and to cultivate trust with the slow patience that a sermon of mercy requires. We meet when the church is almost empty, when the hall echoes with the old sound of rain on slate, and the hymn is only half muffled by the door. Our conversations become longer, more honest, and I feel the layers of doubt peel away, revealing the girl I once was, who believed she could be loved in a way that did not desecrate anything held sacred. Healing arrives like a steady rain after a drought, not always dramatic, never loud, but enough to fill the ground with the possibility of green. My grief loosens its grip, my fear loosens its hold. I am no longer the woman who only prayed for endurance. I am the woman who believes endurance needs a companion, a partner who will walk with me softly and unafraid, through a future that is not perfect, but is real. The priest does not bless me in the way I imagined when I was younger, nor does he condemn the man who stands beside me in the hallways of evening. He blesses the space in us where mercy lives, a quiet benediction that says it is possible to carry a broken heart and still offer it to someone who loves you in return. I carry that blessing into my days, and I carry also the memory of the loneliness that taught me to listen to the small voices within me that whispered, maybe there could be another ending to this story. I tell myself that endings are not always endings, that sometimes a pause is a doorway, and that love, real and tender and patient, can find a way to stay even when the world around us does not understand. The road ahead remains uncertain, but I feel bold enough to walk it, hands held in the only hands that ever felt like home, when the lights are low and the town sleeps. And I am left with the certainty that a second chance is not a miracle granted from above, but a decision made here, in the space between mercy and desire, in the space where a daughter of a priest learns to choose truth over fear. If you crave more raw, emotional confessions, please like, share, and subscribe. Your next chapter awaits. Emotional storytelling, forbidden love, second chances, mature romance, infidelity in marriage, love after loss, grief and healing, tenant love story, romantic narration, YouTube romance, healing through love, slow burn romance, Older woman, younger man. Heartfelt story, true feelings, emotional connection, faceless love, Olivia and Marcus. Narrative romance, love found me.